Hello and welcome to PBS Updates, a new short series from the Oncology podcast where we break down the latest changes to Australia's Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme and what they mean for oncology practice. This is Rachael Babin from the Oncology Network, and I'm joined by Professor Craig Underhill. In this series, we take a quick look at the recent oncology and haematology updates, what's changed, which patients may benefit, and what clinicians should know. For more detail and ongoing coverage of cancer medicines, you can also visit oncologynetwork.com.au. So, if you want a fast, practical overview of the latest PBS developments, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
G'day. Welcome to PBS Updates. Bit of a spin-off from the old OJC podcast. It's a great pleasure to be here again with our producer but co-presenter, Rachael Babin. How are you, Rachael?
I'm very well, Craig. How are you?
Good. So let's get into this July 2026 update from the PBS.
Absolutely. And now, I just want to mention before we get stuck into the details that the June PBS update was only released relatively recently and had, Craig, your excellent interview with Professor John Seltberg. So, listeners, if you didn't catch that one, it's still worth heading back to the June update as well, because it's a slightly different update than our usual podcasts.
That's correct. It was quite a month for new listings. We've got lots to get through today. But it was an interesting conversation with John, who was concerned about some of the recent statements from drug companies, and even since about the PBS approval process and the duration and the pricing, which is now being impacted by Donald Trump's policies in the US. And even since we recorded that chat with John, there's been downsizing of some of the pharma staff by several companies in Australia. So this really is quite a hot topic. I'm going to a session in Sydney next week about trying to improve clinical trial ecosystem in Australia, but I think there'll probably be some discussion about this issue as well. I shall report back. Great. So the first one is pertuzumab. So that has been available in metastatic HER2-positive breast cancer for some time, but it now has a listing in the adjuvant setting. So that's pretty exciting. That's going to impact in a positive way quite a number of patients in Australia. The estimate is around 3,300 per year, according to the media release from Minister Butler. So that's quite a significant number of people. So that's used in combination with trastuzumab and chemotherapy in the adjuvant setting, can be given perioperatively, so 6 cycles pre-op, and then a total of 12 months in total of treatment.
Wow, fantastic. So price reduction from about $6,000 down to $25 per packet over 12 months for 3,000 people. That's a significant impact.
Exactly. So this is now recommended on the NCCN and ESMO guidelines, and we'll put some links as well to the pivotal phase 3 studies that supported this listing.
So you can dive in a bit deeper if you'd like to get into the details of that one. Okay, so next I think we're heading to lung cancer.
Yeah, a couple of lung cancer listings. So again, in the adjuvant setting, the first one is alectinib. So that's for people with an anaplastic lymphoma kinase or ALK-positive non-small cell lung cancer. So again, that's been available in the advanced setting for some time. It's now available as an adjuvant treatment, will benefit about 400 people a year. Again, we'll put some information in the show notes about the pivotal study, which of course is the ALENA study. We've talked about that in previous episodes of the OJC. That showed quite a big benefit. The follow-up in the phase 3 study published in the New England Journal, median follow-up of 27 months. The 2-year disease-free survival was 93% in the alectinib group versus 63% in chemo. So it's a hazard ratio of 0.2, we don't often see hazard ratios of that magnitude benefit in oncology, and we can't show you the survival curves, but you could literally drive a truck between the two curves. The overall survival at the time of the publication was immature, but again, it was 98% versus 85%. Hazard ratio, again, 0.22. So this is, again, recommended in the NCCN guidelines now in the adjuvant setting for these ALK-positive lung cancers.
Wow. It must be an interesting feeling, Craig, when you've looked into the data so much and we all discuss and describe the curves as best we can in an audio format on the OJC some time ago, and then you actually get to see it in real life. It's tangible in practice. Makes a big difference from Monday.
Again, it does. But again, it reflects it takes some time. So we see, these presentations at major international conferences and the publications in international journals that should lead to practice change. But unfortunately, then it takes some time for the drugs to be listed. And that's, I think, what everyone's concerned about at the moment is that speed of approval and approval at the right price so that we don't want to be paying too much for the drugs, but equally it needs to be a fair and reasonable return for the companies.
Yeah, a fine balance.
Exactly. So there was one more in lung cancer as well, which was Osimertinib. So again, Osimertinib was available for advanced disease for several years now, and based on the landmark ADAURA study, which we were all excited about at ASCO a couple of years ago. This is now being listed in the adjuvant setting, again, similar to the alectinib story. These are drugs that have high affinity to the target, which in this case is EGFR mutants with the exon 19 deletion or the L858R mutation. And the ADAURA study showed substantial benefits in this group with a hazard ratio for median disease-free survival of 0.23. Again, so similar to the alectinib story, these are big benefits in these targeted population. This is a niche group. Expected about 170 patients per year will benefit from this drug listing. It's great that it's available in the adjuvant setting where it can have its biggest impact rather than waiting for people to relapse.
Yeah, good to have another option. So I think we've got a couple more which we've been anticipating.
Have we been anticipating romidepsin? I don't think I've been anticipating romidepsin, but that's, again, this is a niche product. This has been listed for adults with peripheral T-cell lymphomas who have relapsed after at least one prior drug therapy. Expected to benefit about 70 people per year. So this will be the drug that's used by hematologists. It's IV. So all the drugs we've been, the last two lung cancer drugs we're talking about, of course, are oral targeted agent. This is IV. It's given weekly, days 1, 8, 15 on a 28-day cycle. So quite a lot for patients coming to have that treatment. But clearly highly active drug in this population, people with peripheral T-cell lymphomas. And this listing is based on 2 phase 2 studies, which is interesting. We'll pop the links to that in the notes as well. This is now treatment recommended on NCCN guidelines for various subtypes of peripheral T-cell lymphoma.
Oh, there you are.
And last but not least, I reckon this is my new favourite drug name, but I was going to say Futibatinib, but Rachel, you're telling me that the company prefers Futibatinib, is that right?
Well, that's how I've heard it referred to, yes. Futibatinib.
Okay. But it's F-U-T. I mean, that's fuck, isn't it? Futibatinib. Anyway, so this is an interesting drug. This is for previously treated advanced or unresectable cholangiocarcinomas with fibroblasts, growth factor receptor 2 or FGFR2 gene alterations. So cholangiocarcinoma is a rare cancer arising from the bile ducts. and this is an oral targeted therapy working against patients with that abnormal FGFR2 gene alteration. So again, quite a niche. About 70 people a year expected to benefit. I did note that in the PBS submission, MOGA was part of that submission. They gave this a ESMO benefit score of 2 out of possible 5. This is filling a niche with no available treatment for these patients. And Rach, I understand you've actually interviewed a couple of our national experts about this drug.
I have produced a couple of episodes, which by the time this podcast comes out, those episodes will be released. So we'll include links in the show notes. But yes, we have a new mini-series. It's called Transforming ICCA with Nick Pavlakis and Jenny Liu, taking it in turns to interview Professor John Bridgewater from the UK, who's led a lot of the research in the ICCA space. So it's really interesting. It's a two-parter. The first one goes into a bit more detail into the background of the studies and how the mechanism of action. And the second episode with Jenny Liu, she talks about her toxicity management dream team, because the toxicities are quite interesting, can be quite unusual with this one. So if you are in this space and you do see cholangio patients, it's a really, really important educational tool, I think, just to upskill around prescribing this new option. So hopefully that's useful to the listeners as well.
So there you are. So if people want to know more about futibatinib, not futibatinib, but futibatinib, then they can listen to these new podcasts.
Thank you.
All right. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, Rachael, I noticed that PBS had released what they call Principles of Broad Multi-Cancer Listings for Program Cell Death 1, Program Death Ligand 1 inhibitors. So I suspect that after the listing of Ipi/Nivo, some of the other PD-1, PD-L1 inhibitors sought broader listings as well, and the PBS have now issued some principles by which they will consider listing of those drugs. Just something of interest for people involved in drug development or the industry.
Yeah, well, we talked about it at the time, didn't we, with the Ipi/Nivo listing. This is potentially the way that some medications are going to be processed going forward, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's your main take-home from this month?
Oh, hard question. Maybe the main take-home is that if you find the right target, you can see quite big benefits in a smaller number of patients. So that would referring to the alectinib and Osimertinib adjuvant trials and adjuvant listing.
Well, thank you as ever for your pearls of
wisdom. Or did
wisdom.
you just want me to talk about the weather again? Something, Rachel, is that more interesting?
Always interested to hear your pearls of wisdom, Craig.
All right. Thank you. It's been great to chat again, Rachael. We've been really heartened by the interest in this podcast. We've been getting quite substantial downloads, which is really interesting. Must have filled a niche. So Thanks everyone for the feedback. And we're always welcome to receive that. If anyone has any suggestions, please let us know. Don't forget to check out the industry spotlight section on the oncologynetwork.com.au for the latest cancer drug news and more information about the available listing changes.
We will have another Oncology Journal Club episode in the coming weeks and another PBS update next month, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Let's hope there's some more multiple listings like we've seen this month. And as always, don't forget our disclaimer. Thanks, Rachael. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Please don't take what we say at face value. Please do your own research, do your own due diligence, check the drug indication, be across the efficacy and toxicity data, discuss it with your patients before embarking on prescribing any of these bloody difficult to say drugs.
That's all for this episode of PBS Updates. For more information on the listings we discussed and for ongoing coverage of cancer medicines, visit oncologynetwork.com.au, where you'll find news, analysis and resources for oncology professionals. If you're working in industry and have details of compassionate access schemes or upcoming PBS changes you'd like us to share with the oncology community, feel free to get in touch. And don't forget to check out the Oncology Journal Club podcast if you'd like to hear more analysis and pearls of wisdom from Professor Craig Underhill. This podcast is proudly produced by the Oncology Network. Thanks for listening.